Welcome in everybody, Josh here from 8-Bit Goonies, and I have a little bit of a different video for you today. It's not going to be looking at price charting or cool cards or collections. No, this is an important one. This is for the real collectors, the real investors. Are you insured? What happens if your house burns down? What happens if there's a break-in? What happens when you have thousands of dollars worth of cards and something terrible happens to them? What happens if you've got a shining Charizard and your house burns down, or there's a break in, or a flood, or a fire? Something like that happens. What about your comic books? You've got these old school first edition, first printing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, and there's an earthquake and they fall into the pit of the abyss. What happens then? Maybe you've got sealed cases of surging sparks and you don't want anything to happen to it, but what if it does? There's some things we just can't prevent in life. We're going to look at some insurance today. I might be a boring subject to some, but it really is a necessity. And if you're not insured, you should be insured. So what I wanted to do today is just look at some general insurers. I've been in the game for a long time. First off, I worked in printing for 10 years, and so I know the printing side of things. Now I've worked in insurance for 10 plus years. I know the insurance side of things. I work in claims. I process very high end claims. I deal with fires, total losses, floods, hurricanes. I deal with all of that. We call them cyclones down here in Australia, but same thing. So I know not only how to properly insure, but how to make a successful claim. And I kind of just want to go through that with you today and just discuss what are your options if one of these things do happen, one of these terrible events. What can you be covered for? What should you be covered for? Again, I'm not selling you insurance. You don't have to have it. I've got it, and I'm going to go through a couple different PDSs, that's product disclosure statements, from a couple of the biggest insurers in the world. These are not my company's PDSs, so I'm no conflict of interest here or anything, but you'll find out that they're very similar across the board. So most insurers operate under the same template. Now, how does insurance work? All right, so companies sell insurance. Multiple companies can sell. You can buy insurance at the grocery store these days, but it's going to be underwritten. There's going to be underwriters. Those underwriters are the ones that set the limits, say yes or no on the big losses, and I'm going to go through what they're looking for and how to make a successful claim, as well as how you can properly make sure your stuff is covered. You get the product disclosure statements, and they're 60, 70 pages long. Worth a read, okay? First off, you should know it's your biggest investment, your home and your contents. You should know what you're covered for. So please, please have a read. If you have any questions, call your insurer. Ask them, what does this mean? How can I insure this? That's the other thing I tell people, that when I'm dealing with declines, when I decline a claim, I say you should call our policy services team and you should ask them, I have this, or I ask, is there something you really, really want to insure? If it was lost or stolen, or a fire or flood, or whatever, what are your prized possessions? Now, obviously, sentimental photos, things like that, you just can't replace. So that's a touchy subject. But jewelry, family heirlooms, high end valuables, high end electronics, those things you need to call your insurer and say, if there was a fire or a lightning storm and it damaged my $5,000 television, am I covered for that? You might not be. You might be surprised. So let's look at a PDS here. We're gonna look at a couple here. First thing you need to look at, it's usually hidden. Here, we're just gonna jump over here. Boom. This is a PDS, and this PDS calls them general contents with set limits. Now, a lot of insurers will offer you cover outside of your house, worldwide, throughout the country, whatever it may be, for accidental loss or damage. But you want to make sure that you have a read, because look here, you can specify contents. However, it says right here in this PDS that you may ask us to specify a replacement value above the standard limits for item listed in the table below, if we agree to provide cover. Now, if you come in with, say, I want to insure $100,000 worth of Pokemon cards, your agent on the phone probably can't approve that. They're probably going to have to call underwriting and have that approved. Underwriting can set special conditions on those items. I have $100,000 worth of Pokemon cards. They might ask you, do you have an alarm system on your house? We won't insure it without an alarm system. They might say, do you have a safe in your house? You want to insure a $100,000 ring? We will only insure that ring when it's in the safe, if it's stolen from within the safe. They can put those conditions on. Something else they usually will not cover are items in a storage facility. So you might have home and contents insurance at your house, but if you're storing stuff at a storage facility or away from the site, probably not going to be covered. Now, underwriters can approve these things. It's worth asking. So don't be afraid to ask, because an agent can always call an underwriter to get special approval. In that case, we'd leave a note on the policy with the underwriter's approval. If we need to, from the claim side, we need to follow up with the underwriters, we can give them a call. Yep, we approve that. As long as it meets these conditions, we can accept that claim. So this particular PDF is specified contents. However, it says while at the insured address only. So you can insure certain items for cover outside the house, but only these limits apply. Once you get special limits applied with this particular PDS, it's only at the house. Now let's look at what we're looking for here. So jewelry, watches, cameras and photographic equipment, pictures, paintings, but this is the one we're interested in, this little bullet point right here. Collections or sets like stamps, memorabilia, documents, medals, or coins. And look at the limits they apply on this. $2,500 per item, up to $7,500 in total. So this right here gets us about to that limit, right? So each other item is under $2,500, but $7,500, we're getting there quick, all right? And that's in Australian dollars, so we're talking 5,000 US dollars. So once we exceed that, we're not covered. If there was a total fire and that's all the cover I had under this particular policy, the most I could claim on my collectibles total is $7,500. That's just not going to cut it. Let's pop over to another PDS here. This one's not, even worse. So again, they call this contents that have flexible limits. We'll go down here. This is collections, sets, and memorabilia, including stamp collections. So that's our here. 5,000 in total for all collections. All collections. So that's not each individual collection or anything like that. That is all your collections, sets, and memorabilia. $5,000. That's gone in 5 cards. Literally, I've got cards worth over $1,000 each. So that's nothing, right? Now, when you need $40,000 or $50,000, how do you cover that? Well, you give your insurer a call. You tell them what you have. They're probably going to ask for some details of those items. They may ask specifics. They may ask for an itemized list. It really depends on the insurer. And it depends on the limit. It also depends on your tenure and your relationship with your insurer. If you've been with an insurer for 15 years, you've never had a claim, or you've had 1 or 2 minor claims or something along those lines, they expect claims, all right? Insurers do expect claims, and they do expect to pay on those claims. So give your insurer a call. They may set special limits, depending, again, on your tenure and your relationship with that insurer. It's good to keep your policies as long as possible. People, what we call churn policies, right? So they'll set up a policy for a year, and then the next year they find a cheaper policy with somebody else, and they jump ship to them, and then they insure with them for a year, and then they jump to a different insurer, or they churn through the same insurers because they get like a 5% sign-up discount or something like that. Each time you do that, you lose your tenure with that insurer. You lose your legacy, right? So it's not a good idea. Sometimes it's worth paying an extra couple bucks a month to keep that tenure. Now, if you're struggling or anything like that, give your insurer a call. They can usually apply a discount as well, even if it's just for 12 months or 6 months to help you out. But they want to keep your business, obviously, but they having time with your insurer is very, very important, especially comes claims time, okay? I know from my side of things, if I see somebody, they're putting in a claim for $10,000, they've been with us 10 years, no claims, I won't even ask for proof of ownership on some of those. On that, you know what, I'm just going to settle it, pay it, move along. No questions asked. I have no problem doing that. Literally, I'll approve an $8,000 claim for a ring. If they've been with Miss 10 years, they've had it insured for 8, no claims on file, that's an easy one. I'm not even going to bother. I'll just cash settle it, less their excess, let's move along. Not worth either of our time to pursue a police report and proof of ownership on something like that. So that's just something to think about is your relationships and tenure. Also, something to think about is items removed from the home, right? I go to trade shows, I take my cards with me. Now, if we go back to this one here, when you leave your house, most of the time, your contents is not insured. Now, different companies can offer portable contents. Collections and collectibles usually aren't covered under that. So, if you can insure your contents for accidental loss or damage or theft, countrywide, worldwide, that's the cover you want to look for. But again, usually your base limits will apply. So, for example, with this policy here, if I were to leave the house, even if I had $50,000 worth of Pokemon cards covered, and I have that theft, accidental loss, or damage outside of the home, this limit will apply. So if I go to a trade show with my cards right now, the most I can claim is $7,500. So when I go to a trade show, I usually take between $5,000 and $10,000 with me worth of cards. I'll take a binder or two, might take a couple sealed boxes. If I go to a comic show, I'm taking comics with me. But yeah, I rarely take more than that outside of the house with me. But if I do, and it's stolen or somebody breaks into my car, I can claim up to $7,500 outside of the house. Now, items with special limits, as it says up here, while at the insured address only. In the event of a claim, any specified content sum insured is payable in addition to the general contents. So that's something else to think about. So basically, if I were to insure for, let's say, $30,000 worth of collectibles, Pokemon cards and comics, I put $20,000 for Pokemon cards, $5,000 for comic books, and $5,000 for Magic cards, just as an example, right? I can claim that up to, let's say, $30,000. In addition, I can claim this number as well. So this is in addition to. So really, if I'm insuring for $30,000 as specified, I get $7,500 on top of that. So I'm going to get $37,500 worth of cover. Now, you can call up an insurer and say, I've got $1 million worth of Pokemon cards. They're not going to insure for $1 million, but let's just say $10,000. And even if you don't have the Pokemon cards, you can still call up and show them or insure them. You can insure anything you want. You can insure your neighbor's house. They're going to take your money. What matters is proof of ownership, okay, when you actually go to purchase. So let's go here, because proof of ownership and proof of loss as well. So when you make a claim, what must you do? You have to provide proof of loss. First thing I'm going to ask for, if you say your house was broken into, I want a police report number as a claims officer. I want to have a police report. I can search a police report. I can call the police station. I'll even ask for a reporting officer's name. That way, if I need to follow up with the officer, I have that access. You know, on a $3,000 claim, I'm not going to fuss too much with it. I'll still probably... Again, it's all about your tenure. If you've been with us 10 years, I'm just going to cash settle it. I don't even care about it. But if you've been with the company for 3 months and you're trying to make a $5,000 claim, well, I'm going to want a police report. That's the first thing I'm going to ask for. Send me a police report number, or have you called the police? If you say no, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Why didn't there was a break-in at your house or your car got broken into and you didn't notify the police? That's a red flag for a claims officer. So first thing you need to do, call the police. Let them know what happened. Second thing you need to do is provide proof of ownership. Proof of ownership is very important. How can you provide proof of ownership with collectibles? Sometimes it's hard. I've had these comics for 15, 20 years, right? I don't have receipts for those. But pictures can help, okay? Pictures can certainly assist. Now, we don't take pictures as total proof of ownership. The best thing you can have for any collectible is your original receipt or a valuation, right? Now, valuations are what's a valuation? Well, think about it like this. If you were to take a ring to a jeweler and get it valued, the jeweler would give you a little certificate saying, we've looked at the ring and we valued it this. Now, I think this is a potential growth business for card stores, etc. The reason being, you can go to I think that a card shop should offer valuations. Basically, a little certified notary sign thing saying, I've reviewed the collection. These are the cards in the collection worth X amount of dollars. Now, most people don't have that. So, what else can you provide? Well, let's go in here and we'll look at what we call providing loss and ownership and value. You must give us proof of loss, value, and ownership of the items. Proof of purchase, sales receipt, purchase date, price of the item when it was purchased, evaluation from a qualified professional valuer, original operating manual and manufacturer's box, certificate of authenticity, close-up photographs, proof of inheritance, or full description of the item. So, what I do with my cards that I have no proof of ownership with is I take a time-stamped photograph of the items with my signature in there. Then I email that to myself. Now, that's going to be about the best you can get for some of these items. Now, this I just bought, obviously, Surging Sparks case. I just bought that. I've got proof of ownership of that. I've got my receipt for that. Bank statements can help as well. If you can show a bank statement for it. With these, though, that I don't have, what I've done, I've taken pictures of them with my signature, time-stamped them, and emailed them to myself. That way I have that as proof of ownership. Not only that, but when you file a police report, they're going to ask for a list of items that was stolen. Make sure it's detailed. Don't just put comic books, $10,000. Put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 3, first printings. Put their value in there. That's very important, all right? So that's proof of ownership is a tricky one for collectibles, but it's very important that you can prove those cards. Now, the next thing they're going to want is a value on those. Well, what's fair market value? It really is what you can get it for, whether that be TCG Player, eBay. They're going to want quotes for replacements are often asked for. So it's going to be up to you to go screenshot those off of wherever it may be, showing the price that you can actually replace that item for. Because obviously, this All Hallows Eve, I paid $200 for, or less. I think I paid $180. I bought it before the pandemic. I bought it in like 2017 or 2018 for $150 to $180. Obviously, it's significantly more than that now. I have to show the replacement value of it currently. If I can show proof of ownership, my original receipt, that's great, but I do need to prove that it's also worth 3 times that amount now. Insurers understand that. Same with jewelry. Jewelry goes up in value. Jewelry's, prices change. So, current market value, they expect that. All right. Something else to consider when you're taking insurance, a lot of companies will offer you optional flood insurance. You can opt out of flood or you can take flood. Now, if a storm damages your house, it's covered. But if you've not taken flood, the definition of flood is very important, all right? So rainwater is one thing, but flood is actually rising water. If you live on a waterway or a river or by the ocean, something like that. Storm surges usually are not included as well. Here, we'll jump over here. We've got some general exclusions. So, actions of the sea, a storm surge. So, if you live on the beach, if you got a beach house and the storm surges and comes up into your house, sorry, that's a exclusion. That is just not covered for your collectibles. Keep them on high ground, right? Um, Here's another one: deliberate, intentional, malicious criminal acts. If you or anybody you've hired or anybody you've allowed into your house steals from you, you're not covered. I call it the vampire rule. If you invite them in and they do bad shit, you're shit out of luck. That's just how it works. It's the vampire rule. Once you've invited them in, all things are off. And that's your kid's friends. If your kid and your son, your daughter has friends over, has a party while you're gone, they've been invited into the house, no cover if they steal from you. Something to consider. A lot of people, I get claims all the time where my son had some friends over and now we're missing this or that. Sorry, there a vampire rule applies. Some of these are a little silly. Nuclear. If you get nuked, you ain't covered. If there's a war, you're not covered. General wear and tear. That's not really. I mean, if you're causing general wear and tear to your comics, that's not a good thing. Soil movement, landslides, things of that nature, not covered. So your PDS is important to have a read through, but the most important thing is contact your insurer. All right, give them a call. Say, this is my most prized possession. These are my most prized possessions. How can I cover this? They'll work with you. They'll talk to you. If they need to, they'll call the underwriters. But I just wanted to get this video out there because I think it's very, very important. I don't think many people are insured. I hear horror stories all the time. You see it on Reddit and you see it in person. People would say, this happened. I had a break-in. I had a fire and I lost everything. Or the cyclone. We get cyclones down here, or hurricanes. If you live in Florida or on the north coast of Australia, you're going to get hit eventually, right, by these storms. And yeah, you might be covered, but boy, it would sure suck to have a cyclone come through and just, your ceiling collapses and the rain comes in and your collectibles are only covered for $7,500. That is just a nightmare. Yeah, we're going to replace your couch and we're going to replace your TV, but not your collectibles. So, something to think about. Now, cost. Not much, people. It's not much, all right? You can cover $60,000 to $70,000 worth of contents, usually for about $30 a month. $30 a month for that peace of mind. Maybe $40 to have accidental on there as well. So you can, you accidentally damage them. You can be covered for that. That is amazing. And it's so worth it, the peace of mind. And it's not just your collectibles. That is all of your contents. Again, I'm not here to sell you insurance. That's not my purpose today. But peace of mind is worth so much. So if you have any questions, please reach out, comment below. I'm happy to answer them. Again, I've been in the game for a long time. I know insurance inside and out. I just jump back here and we'll just talk to you for a minute. It's very important. It's one of those things that I didn't realize how important it was till I was in the business. And now when I talk to people all the time and I have to say, yep, we're going to cover you for this and this and this, but I can't cover you for that. And it sucks. And I said, we can cover you for those type of things in the future, but you got to get it approved by underwriting, or you got to call and get a quote on that, or you have to add it in specified. People just don't get that. People think they just take out a policy for $80,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 for contents and they're covered. Nope. Special limits apply, especially with collectibles. Special limits will always apply with any insurer you have. So check those PDSs, folks. I know it's a big book, but have a look. It's the most important items in your life. It's your home. It's your contents. Have a read of it. And again, if you have a PDS and you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer it. I'm here for that. So give me a shout out. give me a comment. I will answer all the comments on this video. And again, throw me a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to add something to the space that other people aren't. I'm not going to show you graphs and charts of the hottest cards or these are the 10 cards you should buy. Let's talk about some really important shit. Insurance, getting your cards covered in the event of the worst case scenario, because these things do happen. Anyway, thanks. I really do appreciate it. Again, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.